Welcome back to the Ideal Cyberpunk 2077, the long-running series that has a grand total of 2 episodes. But well, since we're only a few weeks now away from the launch of Cyberpunk, which is wild, thinking about me covering the news about this game before it was re-revealed in 2018 and how quickly that's kind of flown by for me, it's crazy. There's not a lot of time left to talk about the game pre-release, so I thought I'd take my chance today to chat about the combat of Cyberpunk 2077. We've seen plenty of Cyberpunk in action over the last few years. You know, we've had consistent trailers and gameplay demos through 2018, 2019. This year, we've gotten a number of Night City Wire live stream events straight from CD Projekt that have gone in depth, in detail on all different aspects of the game. So I don't really think there's anything mechanics wise that is still a secret to us at this point. But one of my main questions about the gameplay, even after seeing everything, continues to be just how satisfying its combat is going to be. And I'm sure I'm going to love the game, I'm sure I'm going to think it's great, I'm sure critics are going to love it, I'm sure fans are going to love it, you know. It is arguably overhyped, but I think it's absolutely going to deliver in a lot of ways. But I'm still not 100% sold that I'm going to love the combat of the game when I hope I do. And one of the obvious reasons for that is that it is a vast departure. I mean, everything about this game is a vast departure from The Witcher 3 naturally and the Witcher franchise. But particularly, I think the core gameplay is such a clear night and day difference from anything that CD Projekt Red have tackled before in their games. I enjoy Witcher 3's combat a lot. I think it gets a lot of criticism from some people, and it's not necessarily my favourite part of that game. The truth of the matter is, though, mechanically it is the same thing over and over again, you know. You can prepare for a fight in the menu if you want, you craft alchemy items, equip oils for your swords and things like that to make sure you have a stronger effect. But really at the end of the day, it does come down to that third person action of counterattacks, parrying, blocking, strong attacks, quick attacks, stuff that has been made pretty standard this generation in third-person open-world RPGs, I think. And even though The Witcher arguably started that trend, nonetheless, it is pretty simple in that way. And that's why I think it's clear that the combat may be the most ambitious thing about Cyberpunk for CD Projekt Red. As a studio, they've never tackled so many aspects of what the combat is for Cyberpunk. They've naturally, you know, right off the bat, never made a game in first person, which is a huge deal. They've never dealt at all with any sort of shooting combat. We are spoiled, I think, generally with pretty solid first person shooter gameplay across the industry, and it is a tough thing to tweak and get absolutely right, in my opinion. So that's no doubt a tricky thing that the team has had to, over the last few years, really work on and make sure it is as good as it possibly can be for their first attempt. And even though obviously the game's still an open world RPG, in that sense, Cyberpunk 2077 has really completely changed genres from a core gameplay perspective compared to The Witcher. But that's not all, of course. For the first time, they have to accommodate for completely different playstyles. In The Witcher, you play as Geralt, everyone plays as Geralt. Sure, you have choices of dialogue, but for the most part, everyone has the same core gameplay experience of, let's slay some monsters, you know, let's swing our swords about in third person. In Cyberpunk, V is your own character. You completely roleplay that character. He or she can be whoever you like. And with that, we've seen plenty of the different gameplay styles that CD Projekt Red has catered to. We've seen characters that are focused on their hacking skills and try to avoid combat. Melee still exists with first-person melee combat, which is of course a whole different beast for them. And we've seen a ton of vehicle stuff as well, what combat's going to be like dealing with vehicles in the open world. And not to mention, I'm sure there's still plenty of ways you can talk your way out of having to deal with combat whatsoever in different scenarios. I'm sure there's stealth options as well. And in that way, just from all those things I listed off, these are totally new things for CD Projekt Red. These are different things that you have to cater for in all aspects of the game's design, and of course they want to be able to do that without any of the particular playstyles feeling more refined than the other. So really that is why Cyberpunk is so ambitious. Obviously we see the trailers, we see the graphics, we see how stunning the open world is and how well it's capturing that cyberpunk aesthetic. And I think it's super easy to be blown away by all that stuff, and it is easy to look at that stuff aesthetically and just see that and think, wow, this is what makes the game so impressive. When really, when we actually start playing it, when we get our hands on it in only a few weeks' time, I think we're going to realise, hell, the game's got so much depth in its gameplay, and that's really where the ambition came into play for the team. Knowing me, I'm a pretty standard guy when it comes to selecting character classes and stuff in games. For the most part, I'll probably just stick with the core shooting gunplay combat. I'm not really one for hacking in games and for taking stealth sneaky routes. I'll probably be totally content with my assault rifle gun or whatever, just blasting my way through the game. And with that, I'm not positive what my experience is going to be like. I'm not sure if the shooting is going to be the smoothest out there. In fact, I highly doubt that. When you compare this game's shooting, of course, from a team that's never done it before, to something like Doom or Call of Duty, very experienced teams in their genres. There are so many studios out there, those included, that have refined first-person shooter gameplay so much over the years, that really CD Projekt Red can only do their best to kind of borrow from them and insert their own vision into it. I really hope the gunplay is super smooth. I hope it impresses me. I don't think it's going to be the best thing about the game necessarily, probably similar to Witcher in that way. But at the very least, I think it will be serviceable. I think it'll be solid. Then I have to ask, is the core gameplay, is it something that really has to blow us away? The Witcher 3 is my favourite game of all time, I'm sure you didn't know that. It's a game beloved by critics and sold stupid amounts of copies. It's generally universally praised, right? People don't really talk about The Witcher 3's gameplay that much, probably for the reasons I've already mentioned. Yet it still excels so far as a modern AAA game because of its other aspects. At the end of the day, it is an RPG first and foremost, just like Cyberpunk. They're both going to be focusing on their rich stories, their exploration, the choice and consequence, dialogue options, deep crafting systems, world design, etc, etc. Those are the areas that, in my opinion, really bring The Witcher 3 to the next level, and it's probably going to be the same for Cyberpunk. CD Projekt Red, that is certainly one area they've proven themselves in time and time again. So in that way, I suppose the gameplay doesn't have to blow me away. But really, if the gunplay and the rest of the gameplay options for those who want to try other things, if it enhances the world, allows people to truly play a certain way, really roleplay the way they want, and of course, at the end of the day, it's a video game, right? If the gameplay is fun, which I'm confident it will be, then that's all that really matters. Are you excited for Cyberpunk 2077? Let me know in the comments down below. That is the cheapest comment question ever. I hope I get a shitload of yeses because, if you leave comments, it helps the video reach new people in YouTube's bullshit algorithm. So please do that. I know literally everyone on planet Earth is excited, so you've got no excuse. Hopefully you enjoyed this little discussion. I think the combat of the game has been largely overlooked compared to some other aspects, so while we've got time left, I wanted to focus on it a little bit today. Anyway, subscribe, like the video, do all that. I'll see you all next time. Please take care, and farewell.